What's up and welcome back to my channel. It's JVceo. So I use my Snap a lot to gauge responses before actually putting out some videos. So a couple of weeks ago, I put something on my Snap with regards to how to change your mindset in order to elevate and get to the next level. Because in my opinion, I feel like a lot of us boys that are getting money, I feel like we're very limited to, like, we have a ceiling. I had this conversation with a mate the other day and he agreed. It's like the guys that have steadily been making, let's say, 100 grand the last however many years, or a 250,000 the last however many years, but they're unable to break past certain boundaries, or maybe 500,000 or 1,000,000. They're unable to break past certain boundaries. So I thought I'll do a video because I started figuring out a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of learning. So I thought I'd do a video to sort of address that, show you the theoretical approach, but also the practical approach when it comes to trying to make £1,000,000 in a year. Considering that we're just past the halfway mark of this year, we've got exactly sort of 5 months left. You can do all your preparation for the remainder of this year, and who knows, maybe 2022, you could be in a position to actually make £1,000,000 in one single year. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I know you'll enjoy this channel because I put out a lot of thought-provoking content. Let's get started. So firstly, I'm going to deal with a couple of the basic stuff, like your mindset. You have to change your mindset to be able to get there 100%. I'm not going to dwell on these because there's some interesting points that I really want to drill into later on. But definitely, you have to change your mindset. Definitely, you have to have the right team around you. And more importantly as well, you have to have an ability to track your progress, whether it's quarterly targets or monthly targets. These are all important factors when it comes to trying to make £1,000,000. And I want you guys to take this video and scale it up or down depending on what your goals are. So an example being myself, I'm saying to myself, bro, there are people that make 20 mil in a year, 50 M's in a year, 10 M's in a year, and they ain't got two heads. They ain't sold their souls. So it's like, we've got to figure out a way to reach those heights as well. Like, we're done doing what we're doing at the moment. Them days are done. Them days are done. This is the last year doing those sort of numbers that we're currently doing. So we want to take things to the next level. How do we really elevate and become the big hitters? You got some of these guys, I'm not really going to put a race on it, but generally speaking, I mean, I guess the white race in a certain field, especially, like startups, is slightly more supported, and that's quite factual. But you got some of these guys, they come up with a great concept, they get a VC on board, before you know it, the business or the company has been bought over for, I don't know, maybe 12 million or 70 million or whatever the case is. And it's possible if you could actually start to get creative. Apologies for the background noise, but it's definitely possible if you can start to get creative with your thought process and everything else that comes along with it. Right, so I'm going to start off with what I call the volume model. Now we're getting into the more interesting parts of the video. So the volume model, I realize that a lot of us, when we run businesses, we're very, very small-minded, and we're very conservative in our approach. The volume model is quite simple. How do you solve a problem on a massive scale? But firstly, a good way of actually figuring out a business to go into is you have to figure out a problem. If you could solve problems, you're in a niche of your own. I'm telling you, if you could solve problems, I've got a lot of great ideas that we're working on now, me and my team, over the next few months, which I can't divulge a lot on video, but we have some great ideas. We're solving problems for entrepreneurs. We're solving problems for, everyday user like yourself probably watching this video. Believe me, if you could solve problems, you're halfway there. But now when it comes to solving problems, it's not just solving problems. You got to figure out, how do you solve problems on a massive scale? How do you solve problems rather than, how do you solve problems for 1,000 people? You got to think, right, how do you solve problems for 1,000,000 people? How do you solve problems for 250,000 people? How do you solve problems for 5 million people? Understand the scope of your market. If you understand the scope of your market and you're able to solve problems on a large scale, the numbers will stack up. Now let's work through the numbers. Let's say, for example, I'm going to give you an example, right? I'll take one of my businesses, for example. I run a consultancy company. One of the services that we offer is a Credit Masterclass Lite and a Credit Masterclass Premium. Essentially speaking, we work with you collaboratively to fix your credit, right? Now, the UK, I think 60 odd million, and around 80% of adults have poor credit. 80% of adults have poor credit. So now let's say, let's say that our market in terms of people with full credit, I would say probably about 8 to 12 million in the UK quite easily. Now, what if we can solve that problem for even 5% of that number? 5% of uh, uh, 8 million becomes 400,000. Yeah. And now let's say charging a fee that we charge anywhere from £99 to £300 for that service. You're looking at mind blowing numbers. I think it's 4 million to 12 million. Just being able, I might be wrong with my maths, but I believe I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll put edits on the screen. But that's what I mean in terms of solving, problems on a large scale basis. And you could use that. Let's take another example, because I actually had a conversation with a mate about this individual. Apparently, it's pretty good. What's his name? I think J2K, I believe, and he created Threat Protect. There you go. He was able to figure out a way to solve problems on a mass scale. You have to think bigger. How do you solve problems on a mass scale? So that's one approach. Now we're going to go into the second approach, which is what I call the premium model. For me, the premium model is quite simple. It takes the volume model and spins it around. The premium model is, how do you get there quicker? And how are you able to get there? By charging a premium price on your products. That means that, it reduces the time frame it takes you to get there. So now if you have to go through 1 million customers charging them £1 each to make 1 million, how do you go through, let's say, 100 customers charging them £10,000 each? So that's the premium model. Now, when it comes to a premium model, you got to think about a few things. You got to think about your skills. How in demand are your skills or your skill set, for example? But sometimes you don't even have to go that far. You just have to be very meticulous with the kind of business you get into. So I've not verified these numbers, but I'll give you an example of a premium model. So a friend of mine, he's in the middle of setting up a leasing company, a car leasing business. And he basically said to me that every lease deal, in terms of the level of cars that he's aiming to do, that every lease deal is worth around, I think, 2,500 a year. So now you ask yourself, 2,500 a year. If he does 1,000 lease deals in one single year, he's done 2.5 million. That's mind-boggling numbers, right? But that's the premium model, because he goes for the premium profits from premium clients. So that's another way that you can quite comfortably make 1 million. So now you got to think, have I got an idea for a premium product? If I do, who are my clients? Are they willing to pay that premium? Have I got an idea for a premium service? Can you charge, let's say, 1,000 people £1,000? Because if you can do that, then you figured out a way to make 1 million. And now you could scale it up or you could scale it down. Ideally, you scale it up, because really and truly, there's probably 1,000 people. If you market and you brand yourself right, there's probably 1,000 people willing to give you £1,000. That way you've made 1 million. Now you obviously got to take into consideration costs and so on and so forth. But we're just being quite simplistic with the view, because I want to make a point with this video. So that's the second approach when it comes to trying to make 1 million. There's 2 more left, right? The third one being the subscription model. So the subscription model for me is quite simple. It's how do you create a business where you get repetitive customers without spending the marketing cost to acquire new customers? So an example being, again, if you have, let's say, 1,000 customers paying you, I think 1,000 customers, let's say, paying you £100 a month, I think that works out to be around 100 grand. Just bear with. Yeah, works out to be 100 grand. There you go. Works out to be 100 grand. I was actually going to calculate it, and I realized that my brain is quite on point and I could do the math without calculating it. So that works out to be 100 grand. And now, 100 grand over 12 months is 1.2 million. Again, that's a subscription model. Now, if you get that original 1,000 clients and you're able to keep them and you're able to, take in this recurring charge on a monthly basis, firstly, you don't have the ongoing business cost of marketing and being able to acquire new clients. Or even, let's say, if your churn rate is 6 months, for example, that at least they're going to last 6 months. That means you need 2,000 clients in a 12-month period to be able to make 1 million, if that makes any sense. For any of you that, need more clarity in terms of churn rate and so on and so forth, just drop comments in the comment section and I'm more than happy to answer it. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And now going on to the final model. This is what I call the compounding model. So I talked about this earlier on in the year when I was, trying to educate you guys in the stock market. I might not have talked about it on YouTube, but I did talk about it to my immediate team, right? But basically, I said, look, the fact of the matter is, a lot of people are trying to get somewhere so quickly, but what they don't realize is, if you take your time with it and you're very meticulous in your approach, you can get further than just trying to hit it big one time. What I mean by that now is, imagine you've got a pot of 100,000 and you're able to get to a place where you get that money invested and you get, let's say, 10% on a monthly basis on that money. Do you know that by the end of that 12 months, you would have made $1 million? So what I've done in this video, for me, is quite clear. I'm not saying to you, there you go, this is exactly how you make $1 million. This is the business that will make you $1 million. There are loads of different businesses. I'm giving you the blueprint because I think that next year, we're only going to level up. Most people around me are doing better than they did last year. Most people around me are making more money than they did last year. But for me, it's about how do we break that barrier? A lot of people are doing $250,000, $500,000. Fuck that. How do we take that to 5 million a year? How do we take that to 10 million a year? Once you master these models, you can actually model your business on these models. And that's a fact. And you could use a mixture of all of them. You could have 4 different businesses targeting these different models, and for any of you guys that know anything about me, you'd notice that that's exactly what I do myself, so it's a numbers game, 100%. But thank you for watching. If you have any questions, drop it in the DM section. Drop it in the comment section. And if you have any ideas for videos or anything that you'd want me to answer on YouTube, drop it down as well. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.